Okay, it is 10 o'clock. We're going to get started here. I will call to order the Yamhill County Board of Commissioners formal session for October 12th, 2023. It is 10 o'clock in the morning. And I will go ahead and lead us in the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, item C is our calendar session. Is there anything to add?
We should add that Commissioner Johnston is taking part in the fire chief interviews, and in his stead, he left a proxy. He will be voting, by
Yes.
the way.
He has an all-day meeting interviews for the candidates for McMinnville Fire Chief. So we're happy that he can participate in that, but I assume we won't get into any legal hot water with a bear sitting here. Christian.
Christian's not even making eye contact. He's going to ignore this whole thing.
Just in case, no misrepresentation.
Yep.
Blame it all on Justin.
For the record, Justin, who is sitting in for our county administrator, has given us the permission to leave the bear there. So, Justin, thank you. Let the record reflect that. Yes.
Yes. Okay, calendar session. I think we covered everything
Yes.
for next week. Okay. Item D is public comment. Public comment this time period is reserved for public comment on any topic other than an agenda item, a quasi judicial land use matter, or a topic scheduled for a public hearing. So if you are here to provide public comment for anything that's not on the agenda, now is the time to come forward, or please raise your virtual hand if you're online. Come on forward.
Sit down?
Yes,
Yes.
please. And if you could please state your name and address for the record.
Sure. My name is Baron Van Zanten. I live at 507 Northeast 11th Street in McMinnville. And forgive my uncomfortableness. This is my first occasion in front of this august body.
Well, welcome.
Very simply, I would like your help in helping me prevent my widow having to face property title theft. Property title theft is happening in California, Texas, New York, and Illinois. And if you watch TV, you see advertisements about it all the time. Okay. I won't get into the ridiculousness of the advertisements, but suffice it to say that we all know that the DMV was hacked recently. And whoever hacked them has your and my name, address, social security number, height, color of eyes, and color of hair. All you need is that and a dishonest notary, and you can hack any property that you want to. I've been told it hasn't happened in this county yet, and I am thankful for that, but I suspect it will. As you also know, a few years ago, Equifax was hacked. 147 million people had their credit histories exposed to whoever hacked them. As a result, the US Congress passed a law that said, for free, Equifax and TransUnion and Experian had to allow all of us to put a freeze on our credit history. And my wife and I did that. So what am I asking you to do? I should tell you, I've talked to your clerk, both clerks, the old clerk and the new clerk, and they tell me their hands are tied. And I had reached out to Ron Noble, who didn't care. And I've tried to talk to Lucetta, who was nice, at least her chief of staff was nice, but I haven't seen any action. Okay. So what can you do to help me avoid my widow having to face property title theft? Well, first of all, I've been at the clerk's office a couple of times, and they're very kind and they're very helpful, and they can access the records, okay? So I can find out that I'm still the owner of record. And Susie was very helpful doing that. But I can't do it online. I cannot go online and see who owns my property. And that doesn't make any sense to me. I'm holding in my hand printout. I have 3 copies of something called the Thurston County A+ parcel search. My wife and I own property in Thurston County, Washington State. And I got this in less than 60 seconds online. And I check it all the time to see if I still own the property. And I think Yamhill County should do something like this. I'm not here complaining about Yamhill County. I love Yamhill County. I love McMinnville. I didn't like Thurston County. But in this particular area, Thurston County has something that Yamhill County can learn, which is put something online so we can check the status of our properties. Okay. The second thing that you could do is to freeze our property. And I am not a lawyer, thank God. But I do believe that something could be done to set up a system whereby our property could be frozen the way our credit histories are frozen. And I know it would be complicated. I mean, if I go freeze it and then I'm dead, how do you unfreeze it? So you have to do some thinking about it. But my request to you is that you think about it. Because it's coming. Yamhill County is not going to avoid it. That's all I have to say. Any
Thank
questions?
you.
Can you leave your contact information with one of our,
It's on your form.
okay, you
I don't have my phone number, but it's 360-918-3819.
okay, but you've got your address and an email address. Do you have an email address on that as
No.
well?
I'll
Could
put
you,
it on there.
could
If
you
it's-
put that on
if
there?
the form's
Yeah.
still there?
Just so we have a way to contact you to
Sure.
give you an update on
Sure.
what we
I
come up
shouldn't
with.
use this word, given the news, but this is my personal jihad, and I'm doing whatever I can do to get this done.
Well, thank you for bringing it to our
Yes, thank you.
attention. It's
Okay.
been an issue, but until it impacts us or it's brought to our attention, we
Right.
don't think in terms of what steps we could take, but
I will, I'll follow up with our clerk. And I also used to live in Thurston County, so I can follow up with that county and see what they're doing, what kind of process they use.
You want the form?
Sure, if you don't
You
mind
want me to
parting
give
with
You want
it.
to give it to you?
Christian, did you have a comment?
Well, I just went online to the website. Link to the website. I think there's a search for the document.
Which website? County, Yamhill County?
Clerk,
Yeah,
Clerk's.
clerk's office?
So, I would like to know how to do that because, your clerk couldn't tell me how to do it.
So, yeah, it's, yeah.
Okay.
On the website.
Question though,
Check your problem.
But I wonder if it's the actual document or if it's, yeah.
Your name from it.
Yeah, there were several recorded documents.
No, I apologize if they're wrong, except that, I'm conveying what your clerk told me.
Well, let's make sure, let's make sure that that's what you're looking for. So,
Well, I got it 60 seconds from person time.
okay.
and then the other
Thank you.
question you brought up, sir, was a good question in terms of the ability or the option to freeze property deeds and what that would entail, just like you would freeze your credit history. And maybe we can look into that. I don't know what
Yeah,
that,
my thought there is that's a very different issue.
Yeah.
I would need to know more about
So
what- what's in,
your
I mean,
previous clerk and your current clerk had told me that you have to go through the state to do that. I'm not a bureaucrat. I don't believe that stuff. You're Yamaha County. You can do what I think you want to do. So thank you.
Thank you.
thank you for coming today. We appreciate it.
I can follow up.
Yes,
Excuse me. I can follow up with Lucetta about that too.
okay, thank you.
Right.
And just a question while we're talking about this is if our information, all of our information is available and out there, how would just our name coming up on the title be protection enough if anyone can take your name, your social security number? Sir, do you want to have a seat?
So, I'm not an expert on this. I'm just playing around with it, okay? If somebody tries to steal your, property, you don't have to accept it. What you have to do is you have to hire a lawyer to undo it. In my opinion, your lawyer can tell you if that's correct or not. What I'm trying to avoid here is people having to spend tens of thousands of dollars to have their lawyer undo property title theft. And if you can see that somebody else's name comes up on your property, and for instance, I would check it monthly to see if that's happened, then I think you can avoid maybe some of the difficulties that would follow that. For instance, if you caught it early enough, you might prevent a loan or two or three from getting recorded on your property. That's my effort is to one, be able to get a lawyer on it fast. And then the second effort is just to prevent it, period. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you. I think this gives us something to work with. There's a lot more questions than answers, but we appreciate you bringing this to us.
I will carry your water on this if you want me to, okay?
Okay, thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If there's any other public comment, and if you're online, please raise your virtual hand. Okay, seeing and hearing none, we will move on to department updates. There's nothing today. Item F is our work session, nothing on the work session calendar. Item G is consent agenda. We have a couple of committee appointments and an HHS or public health contract. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved, Chair.
Okay. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, same sign. And let the record show, do I have to state that for the record that Kit is absent? Okay. Okay, so let the record show that Commissioner Starrett and Commissioner Burschauer voted in the affirmative and Commissioner Johnston is absent. And I just want to thank Rob Molzon, Lacey Summers, and Katie Rust for serving on BOPTA, which is going to soon be PVAB, Property Value Appeal, PVAB,
Another acronym to learn.
Property Values Appeals Board. They're wonderful members of that board. They have a lot of experience, so
Mhm.
appreciate their service.
Yes.
Let's see. Item H, old business. H1 is discussion regarding the potential closure of High Heaven Road Gate. This was continued from last week, October 5th, 2023. We've been having continued conversations with Weyerhaeuser, Hampton, and Manulife, working through some of the technical details. And there's a new proposal or suggestion to close the gates at the start of fire season rather than waiting until the moderate level because of just the functionality of what they have to do up there. I think Manulife said that they are going to be harvesting some of those areas over the next 2 summers. So to create less confusion, it might be better if we just close at the beginning of fire season and then open at the end. Therefore, they're not having to juggle the risk levels potentially changing.
Yeah,
going
that's what
back
I was
and
told,
forth.
that it can be moderate. But then the next day or the next week, it could go back to low. And there would be challenges in
Right.
them having staff or resources to be going out to the gates on a daily or a weekly basis to reopen or reclose the gates. I'm not as familiar with how these declarations work, but what I was told is fire season is declared
Mhm.
and then it stays. They don't remove that designation until the very end. It's not as
Right.
though they're going to declare it one day and then come back down. And
Right.
once it's declared, it's declared. And then there are different levels of risk once it's declared, but that is a point in time that then doesn't change until in the fall. And roughly, I guess historically, that happens around the 1st of July. The fire season begins, and then around the 1st of October, fire season ends. So there was also a thought, and I don't apologize. Another suggestion that was made was you could just peg a date. You could say July 1 to October 1. It may start
Right.
a little bit earlier, a little bit later in some years, and it may end a little bit earlier or later. So tying it to the actual declaration, and I was told that they felt confident that there would be sufficient communication with the state
Mhm.
on when that declaration happened, so that they would be aware when fire season was declared, and then be able to go out and close the gates.
So a little bit of a different direction than we had talked about as a board. We had talked about moderate level, but I want to make sure that Commissioner Johnston can sort of get in on that conversation. So I'm going to push it to next week. But it does make sense from a practical standpoint, I think, that we're not having people out there opening and closing the gates for different fire levels. And then on top of that, you have people coming and going with log trucks and rock trucks and everything. And so they're opening and closing anyway. So it just makes more sense that we would close at the start of fire season. And the communication is actually pretty robust. I received a text message, I think it was last week, when we came out of fire
Right.
season. So they're pretty good about communicating. But I want to make sure that the majority of the board, or at least there's consensus across all of us that we're okay with going with the designation rather than the risk level.
And I think that text, the availability of that text, we need to make sure folks have access to signing up for those alerts so that they know when fire season starts and when it's officially over.
Okay, so we will move that to next week and maybe prepare a draft that is reflects
that.
those changes just in
Certainly.
case.
Mhm.
And I think we were able to answer the other questions that we had.
Yeah, there were some questions around access by at least from Weyerhaeuser's perspective, from private lessees and I was told that there isn't an issue with the private lessees accessing their land through that gate. So at least from Weyerhaeuser's perspective, that wouldn't be an issue, but they did confirm that and suspect this is true for the other landowners as well. They have forest land management practices that they're engaged in all year round. They can continue to work in those areas until the industrial fire precaution level. I'm sorry if that name's not exactly right, but until it gets too extreme. So it can be high and they may still be doing work up there, safety patrols, road maintenance, road building, harvesting. So there will be times during the period of the year when it's closed that the gates will sometimes be open. But it won't be opened for their private lessees.
Okay.
And then I don't know if we heard what we needed to hear from Hampton as regards the upper gates. There were some questions about the management of the two gates as opposed to just one. So I don't know if you've heard anything
Okay.
further from Hampton on that.
I think they are under the expectation that they're going to be subject to the permit. as
Perfect.
well. So,
Okay,
mhm.
good.
Okay, so we will prepare that for next week and continue that to, is it this 19th?
19th.
October 19th. Okay, moving on to other business. I1 is consideration of adopting resolution 23-04-20-1 proclaiming October 15th through October 21st, 2023 as Hands and Words Are Not for Hurting Week. And this was brought forward to us by the McMinnville Seroptimus Group. Welcome. If you would like to comment on the proclamation before I read it, you are welcome to. We have another bear joining us.
It's just a bear day.
I don't really have a comment on the proclamation, except just, we appreciate that you are addressing it and joining us in the project. I do have, this is our bear, our mascot, I guess. And I do have a couple things we'd like to maybe take the pledge, everyone, if you're interested. And I'll distribute, if it's okay, I'm going to distribute these.
Sure,
first.
yeah.
Oh, I'm so sorry. It has the pledge on it. I leave a bracelet for. Yeah.
Thank you.
If we could, we'll just all take the pledge. Pretty simple. It's just a few words. I will not use my hands or my words or hurting myself or others. Again, we appreciate
Thank you for
your
bringing this
doing
forward.
this. And our banner is on 3rd Street. We'll be in the schools and other places. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay.
Thank you.
So I'd like to read the proclamation. In the matter of a resolution in support of Hands and Words Are Not for Hurting Week. Whereas a community without abuse and violence is a dream we all share. And whereas any form of mistreatment or of another is abuse, and all people have a right to live free of abuse and violence. And whereas we recognize that respect for ourselves and others is key to developing healthy relationships at every age and in all circumstances. And whereas it is within our personal power to choose not to use abuse and or violence to resolve conflict. And whereas verbal and emotional abuse can be just as damaging and as physical violence to a person's self-worth, creating scars that are carried for the rest of that person's life. And whereas verbal abuse such as name calling, insulting, and belittling frequently escalates to physical aggression, which often turns to serious violence. And whereas we, as the commissioners of Yamhill County, together with communities around the country and abroad, recognize the hands and words are not for hurting projects pledge in an effective tool in abuse and violence prevention and education. And now therefore, the Yamhill County Board of Commissioners does hereby proclaim the week of October 15th through the 21st of 2023 to be the annual Hands and Words Are Not for Hurting Week in Yamhill County, Oregon, and in doing so, encourages all citizens of Yamhill County to join hands to unite as a family and a community to pledge both privately and publicly, I will not use my hands or my words for hurting myself or others. Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming. Thank you.
Sure, we need to vote on it really quick.
Yeah.
Make it official. Okay, so I will move approval of item I1. Is there further discussion?
None.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, same sign. Great, thank you. Let the record show Commissioner Starrett and Burschauer voted in the affirmative and Commissioner Johnston is absent. Okay. So.
These are for optimists.
No boys allowed.
I have.
Oh, no, we have misters. You're optimistic.
I can say something that should be said.
Yes. We should, are you standing by the bear? We gotta get the bear.
I think
Would you like to
so.
leave your stuff here? Want to put your stuff there? One, two. So much all. They are very much appreciated. And you're probably a lot interesting. That's right. In this day. Thank you. Not even to say a word.
Okay. Item I2, so well, actually, the next three items are the three service element prior authorization agreements that we approved on September 28th. These are in the final form, so I'll just go through each one. I2 is consideration of approval of service element prior authorization or SEPA number 70992-596 for $8,837,530 under intergovernmental agreement number 180127 between Yamhill County and the Oregon Department of Human Services, Board Order 23-367 for the financing of community developmental disability services retroactive to July 1st of 2023. Do I have a motion to approve?
Chair, I move approval of item I2.
Any further discussion or questions?
No.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, same sign. Let the record show Commissioners Starrett and Burschauer voted in the affirmative and Commissioner Johnston is absent today. I3, consideration of approval of service element prior authorization, SEPA number 71448-365 for $287,120 under intergovernmental agreement number 180127 between Yamhill County and the Oregon Department of Human Services, Board Order 23-367 for the financing of community developmental disability services retroactive to July 1st of 2023. I will move approval. Is there further discussion?
None.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, same sign. Let the record show Commissioner Starrett and Burschauer voted in the affirmative. Commissioner Johnston is absent today. I4, consideration of approval of service element prior authorization SEPA number 72978-702 for $25,000 under intergovernmental agreement number 180127 between Yamhill County and the Oregon Department of Human Services, Board Order 23-367 for the financing of community developmental disability services retroactive to July 1st of 2023. I'll move approval. Is there further discussion?
None.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, same sign. Okay, records show Commissioner Burschauer and Starrett voted in the affirmative. Commissioner Johnston is absent. And public hearings, item J, we have nothing today, and that leaves us with announcements. Any announcements?
We, the board visited the Relief Nursery in Newburgh, and we got a tour of the new facility, which is placed on Newburgh school property. So it's been a wonderful collaboration of Lutheran Community Services and the school, and the county's been a supporter and one of the major funders. So I want to thank Emily and Jordan for hosting us there, and we very much appreciate all the work they're doing at the Relief Nursery.
Absolutely. Great location.
We had our AOC district meeting.
Yes, I was just gonna say that. Long meeting, all day meeting last Friday, but it was good to connect with commissioners in our region. And we all seem to be on the same page about some of the most important issues facing counties. And then the second half of the day was the wildfire mapping meeting with ODF. Hi.
Okay, no comment.
That was our tax collector assessor, Derek Orr.
He was also there Friday. To go over the maps, the wildfire designation maps that the state rolled out that were just disastrous. And they had to go back to the drawing table and redo them. So it was good to have everybody in the room. We don't often have all of those state agencies come together for commissioners and come to commissioners. So whoever wrote that into the bill, that was that was really brilliant. I think they should do that with every major piece of legislation. Make sure you go talk to the counties. So yeah, successful day. I think they had a lot of good feedback from commissioners in terms of impact with some of these policies. So we will be discussing them further at our annual meeting, as well as the process to prepare bills for the short session is coming up here pretty quick in November. So
I want to thank Carolina for making sure that everybody was fed and well behaved. And thank you for getting that set up in Dallas.
yes, we had a lot of leftover lunches, but they went to Sergeant Young took them to the sheriff's department.
Oh,
So-
good.
Hopefully they accessed them and were able to eat them.
Oh, good idea. Wonderful.
Okay, anything else for the good of the order?
None.
All right, I will adjourn the Yamhill County Board of Commissioners formal session for October 12th, 2023. It is 10:34. Thank you. Harder to see that time.